All right, it's 3 o'clock. I don't see Natasha, but we can go ahead and get started. And oh no, there she is. I see her. Okay,
I'm
we
here.
can go ahead and get started. So this is the May 9th planning meeting. So let's start with explain the continuance for the Brickworks Lot 5.
Correct. On the Lot 5 Brickworks final site plan and forest conservation plan, or I'm sorry, it's a combined preliminary plat and final site plan for Lot 5, and then the preliminary forest conservation plan. In order to work through some remaining design issues regarding road right-of-ways and alleys and some connections. So there were some administrative items that we still need to work out with the applicant. So a 30-day continuance to next month's meeting.
Okay. So Natasha and Dorothy, you guys don't have your cameras on, so I can't see you. So I'm going to have to do a roll call to see if anybody has any questions. So we'll start with Dorothy. Any questions?
None from me, thank you.
Okay, Natasha?
No, thank you.
Elaine?
No, thanks.
I don't have any questions either. All right, the next one is the Rock Hill Forest Conservation Plan. So if I can summarize, we did not pass the motion approving the Forest Conservation Plan, and then I adjourned the meeting too early, and we needed to actually have an affirmative action to deny the Forest Conservation Plan or something. So is that right?
Very eloquently said, yes. That we by the time the motion was made, the vote was taken, and then there needed to be another motion put on the table to get to a place of taking an affirmative vote on a motion. So the intent of the meeting on Monday will be to kind of pick up where we left off. We did not prepare a separate new staff report because the case is, kind of still open. Just for the commission's awareness, we did reach out to all of the folks who spoke on the record on the Forest Conservation Plan, just with a letter letting them know that there was not intended to be any public comment or that we had gotten through the case to the point of the deliberations, but just to make them aware. So if they saw it on the agenda, they weren't surprised or unsure what was going on. So everyone has been notified, and yes, it'll be back up to the table. We can give a little just kind of overview if you want to turn it over to us on Monday, Joan, and
Okay.
I can summarize what.
So we don't have to go over the whole staff report and applicant
No
discussion and public comment and everything.
No, we will pretend that we said, wait. We need another motion on the table. You can, of course, feel free to, if you have questions, it's during your discussion. So if you have questions of us still, we can weigh in on those. But if you want, just in terms of proceedings on Monday, I'm happy to say why it's back on the agenda and then turn it over to you guys to deliberate on it.
Okay, and so just to be clear, you guys are not writing any findings or a reason to deny the Forest Conservation Plan, correct?
Correct. Our recommendation had not changed.
Okay, so this is up to the three of you to figure out what you want to do. So Natasha, Dorothy, and Elaine, if you have any questions, ask them now. But the three of you are going to have a discussion and come up with reasonable findings if you still want to deny the Forest Conservation Plan, of why. And those findings have to be consistent with section 721 of the Land Management Code.
And if you have any questions at the meeting, about what you're to be considering or what things are related to those considerations, that would be an appropriate time to ask us if that's helpful. To help you get to that.
Yeah. So I'll just go do a quick roll call. Dorothy, any questions?
No.
All right. Natasha, any questions?
No, thank you.
Elaine?
No, thanks.
All right. Sounds good. We're on to the Brickworks. So we have the Forest Conservation Plan for lots 4 and 6, the final site plan for lot 4, the final site plan for lot 6.
Correct. So we'll start with the Pam is going to be back on Monday evening, but I'm going to cover it for her now. The preliminary forest conservation plan. There have been no changes to the materials that were in your packet for last month when everything was continued. The applicant is still proposing to pay the fee in lieu of or 50% offsite for the lots 4 and 6. There are no forest conservation areas on those 2 lots. Keeping in mind those are our commercial component, the shopping center, and the multifamily lot. So there have not been any adjustments to the staff report. Sorry.
Okay.
Too many screens open. I think the only thing we added was a notation that it had been continued. Oops, I'm sorry. I get too many windows open and you don't know which one you're looking at. All right, here we go. There's 6 recommended conditions of approval, and they're all technical in nature.
Okay.
Is there any questions? Yeah, we just added the notation about the continuance at the very beginning.
All right. Dorothy, any questions?
I don't think so. If I have any questions, they'll be for Monday night. I have questions, but I think it can be for Monday night.
Okay. All right. Natasha,
No, thank you.
Elaine,
No, thanks.
great. So final site plan for lot 4.
So the lot 4 site plan, switch screens. The lot 4, this is our shopping center final site plan. And if you'll bear with me, if it's helpful, I was going to share the screen so we could just all look at it and I can point you to the biggest design change. So as you'll recall, the applicant continued primarily, all 3 applications primarily due to this application. I'm gonna see if I can get myself straight here. Okay. Hopefully you are looking at my screen showing the lot 4 final site plan sheet. This is the truck turning, but it shows things pretty clearly in terms of the building footprints. The applicant has decided to omit both pad sites now. When it was scheduled to be heard last month, there was the 1 pad site that had been removed. This pad site was retained. They have decided to kind of just pull back on that entire component. That would mean that there will be future site plans and any modifications or architecturals, those elements would all be discussed at a separate meeting in our normal course of action. That did change the nature of some of the requests you're going to be voting on. Stop sharing real quick so I can look at my site plan. Namely that eliminated the modification requirement for building orientation. That was related to the distance of that pad site that was still on the plan and the access to that. So that modification is no longer with us. There is the modification to the parking lot setback. That was requested to be reduced down to like 4 feet, I believe it was, and that was for the drive-through area. That modification is still needed, and the area of that modification is now pertaining to the parking lot and the parking field in front of the grocery store. At its closest, it's about 14.5 feet, I believe it is, to Monocacy Boulevard. So still under the 25 feet, still requiring the modification. But now the scope of that modification has changed a bit. The rest of the modifications that you'll be weighing in on are the same as they were last month. We have the modification for parking lot lighting to spill over beyond the shopping center into the lot that contains the multifamily unit because there's some shared drive aisles. We have the modification, as I said, to the parking lot setback. Now it pertains just to actual parking for the grocery store. The modification that requires parking lots for shopping centers to be at least 10 feet from the other other property lines, not right of ways. That still is necessary, and that pertains to the area where lot 4 and lot 6 adjoin. We have the modification to the entrance spacing standards that shifted a little bit from when we reviewed it at the master plan level. It was a previously modified entrance location, but it's changing a little bit. And this is the distance between the South Street roundabout and the right-in entrance on Southeast Street roundabout. We have the modification for the landscaping screening between lots 4 and 6. The parking lots typically require screening. The loading space modification, I'm sorry, that also, the scope of that changed a little bit because the applicant was proposing a small loading space for the pad site. Now we're just looking at loading pertaining to the rest of the shopping center. And they're providing the 2 small loading spaces in lieu of the 3 large that they needed. There's a modification to the shopping center design standard that buildings over 10,000 square feet be 2-story. Their buildings are 1-story. They offer as compensating design features kind of the massing that reflects 2 stories with the architecture and glazing their windows that they provide. That is all. As I said, those 2 pad sites will be subject to further review when they decide to submit those for final site plans. To answer any questions.
All right, Dorothy, any questions?
Yes, Gabrielle, on page 8, under storm, this is a staff report, under storm water.
Sure.
I'm confused a little bit. It says, it's not clear to me. It says the amount of stormwater treated through non-structural practices must be at least 5%. And then it says, see below the section of the report on compliance with the standard. What does that mean? See what below? The building design standard? Is that what you're referring to?
We were referring you down to the stormwater management section of the report.
That's not there? I'm confused.
Starting on the bottom of page 14.
Oh, it's at the bottom of page 14.
Starts stormwater.
Oh, okay, because it's just a bullet with stormwater, and that one sentence, and then the second one says see below, and I was like, I have no idea what we're talking about. Okay, so you're referring to the bottom of page 14 into 15. Exactly,
yeah, the section that with the standard section we include on stormwater.
Gotcha. And then my other question is just clarifying. The 2 pads have disappeared, and so I want to confirm. So there's no loading dock request for the pads, and there's no setback for the drive-through for the pads that will be coming forth at this time. Is that correct? I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Correct. And the orientation modification, remember we have that standard for building orientation that requires the buildings to be close to a certain, I think it's 20 feet to the public right of way. That modification was also specific to the pad site, so that doesn't exist anymore either.
So those 3 things are not in this right now, but you did mention the setback for the parking, and I think it's a smaller pad for the 2 other, like the grocer, and I think the other one
with the small loading spaces. Yes, for the inline retail or the retail buildings.
Correct. I had another question. Okay, so I was trying to understand 12 in regard to the private drives, G and H. You're saying that it's different from the master plan. Can you show us what you're talking about? Specifically, the width of the drive aisles are being increased to between 10 and 12 instead of 10 as shown in the master plan. And I know that you said this will accommodate for the trucks turning, but then it also mentions the sidewalk. So that was what I was more looking at than the actual private drive-throughs. I'm trying to understand. So they're going from 2 sidewalks to 1 sidewalk. So I just wanted to see where that was so I could look at it later for myself.
Sure.
We can pull it.
Let me
Thank you.
And while we're pulling this up, it might take a second for me just to load this file. Commissioner Manalis, I wanted to also speak to your concern about the lot 4 and lot 6 lot size shifts. So that
Mhm.
information was changed in both staff reports. From preliminary plat to final plat, the code allows for a small tolerance of change in the lot sizes. Some of the reasoning behind that is when you do a preliminary plat and you first propose subdivision lot lines and right of ways, you move into improvement plans and construction drawings after that. And sometimes things get refined and shifted a little bit, easements, right of ways, those sorts of things. And then the final plat, which is the actual subdivision plat that goes to the courthouse and records the boundary of the property, might reflect slightly different square footages of the various lots. So Commissioner Alice had picked up on a discrepancy in the total cumulative lot area that we were accounting for in our staff reports this time versus what was on the master plan. So we did follow up with the applicant to understand the source of that discrepancy and provided new lot summaries for you in these reports, which
So
should
page
all
7.
square up.
Thank you, Gabrielle. It's on page 7. Yep, and I totaled it, and it's all totals up. Thank you.
Good. Let's see. I'm gonna try to be super savvy here. Let's see. Savvy I can be. We'll try. So all right. So hopefully you're looking at my screen. The view on the left-hand side is our pending lot 4 final site plan, and this should also match the lot 6 final site plan. And here on the left-hand or on the right-hand side is what was approved on the master plan. So they're showing, let me see if I can zoom just a little bit more.
Yeah, we're looking at for the sidewalks. Let me see.
So this is just in the details where you see some changes. So on the master plan, they were showing 2 10-foot wide lanes on both G and H. Here you see them expanding them to 10 to 12 feet wide.
Right.
They've also changed the notation where they're now creating flexibility for themselves to have sidewalk on minimum one side, not on both. They're showing that it's a potential on it. So where we see that actually in play,
Yeah.
Our final plan 4, hopefully the screen is moving with me. All right, this might be a simple plan to see it on. So G and H were these connections, and per the master plan, it was contemplated that they would have sidewalk on both sides. If you see my hand icon.
I'm trying to understand. So where your hand is, what is that? That's a parking lot to where? I'm kind of confused right now. Okay, I see the roundabout. This
Yep.
Okay, so that the grocer's over there. So you're talking about I see that. So where are you talking about again now? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So this is Brickwork Street coming in, and this is the first entrance into the shopping center. And the kind of hatched grayish line on the left-hand side is showing you where the sidewalk, you have a crosswalk. So you'd walk in, you have a crosswalk, you have a sidewalk, and another crosswalk connecting you to this sidewalk. The master plan contemplated that there would be dual sidewalks when you came in, and dual sidewalks along this access drive, and I believe dual access walks along this side.
When you say this side, Gabrielle, you're referring to the frontage in front of those buildings, lot 6 and stuff?
So it has sidewalk on the building side. On the other side of the drive aisle, there is no sidewalk.
All right.
There's kind of crosswalk crossing over, connecting a pedestrian to the shopping center, connecting down if you wanted to, and over to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do we know how wide those sidewalks are?
I believe they are 5 foot, but let me,
Because I saw a mention of sidewalks and I thought I saw 8, but I wasn't sure and I didn't know which sidewalks they were referencing.
it's just 6 foot. The one in front of the Lot 6 multifamily building is wider. And that may be, let's see. Sorry if I make you seasick with all the scrolling and. So this is, the sidewalks along the drive aisles are all 6 feet.
Okay. 6 feet wide?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What's the requirement for ADA?
Oh, Cherian, are you on the call for ADA? I think it can narrow pretty significantly as long as periodically you have a bump out to let people pass. Our standard is generally 5 feet wide.
Okay.
Hi, this is Cherian. Were you asking the sidewalk in front of lot 6? That will
Not
be
not in front of lot 6, Chairman. The one that's where Gabrielle was before, that's like
Yeah.
crossing.
yeah, that's 8 feet. The one in front of the lot 6 multifamily that you see on the screen, that's 8 feet.
Right. But what's the other one is 6 feet? Is that what it is?
Minimum
6 feet.
6 feet. Yeah, you can see the label there on the middle.
Okay.
Says 6 foot sidewalk.
Okay. Where is this in the staff report? Is that in the staff report somewhere? I just want to make sure I can reference it, like written in the staff report. I know I saw something about sidewalks. I just can't. Oh, I see something about sidewalk. It says, oh no, but this is not it. It's an 8-foot sidewalk will be constructed on the east side of the right in and out. That's not what I'm referencing. That's not what I was talking about. But okay, so that's where that 6 foot would be. Okay, that's all I really wanted to know.
Here's the 8 foot.
Yeah.
They've got a 4 foot coming in on the other side, and then these are 6. And the ones in front of the shopping center or buildings themselves are 9.5. Obviously, there's a little bit of widening.
Okay. My
I
last.
believe.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I believe the sidewalk on Brickwork Street is also 6 feet. If you want to pan up a little bit, you can. That's what they provided.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you just say that one is 4 feet somewhere?
The sidewalk coming in, I didn't see the label up there, Sharon, but I can double check that. It's probably in the detail. This section where they added the secondary sidewalk.
Oh, it's only 4 feet?
Yeah, I believe that with the previous iteration, they only had the sidewalk on one side, then they added the second 4 foot.
Okay, so so one is 4 feet and the opposite side is, I think that's an 8. I can't really tell.
Yes, 8.
Okay, so it's 2 sidewalks. One is 4 foot wide. The other one is 8 foot wide.
Correct.
Okay. Is there a reason why it's uneven? Like why if one is 4 and one is anyway? That's probably something for our meeting anyway. So I'll bypass that. My other last question was the I just wanted to understand page 11 real quickly. I don't need too much detail. I was just curious to make sure I understand. It talked about the 4 foot tall screening walls as compensating design features. And that was on page 11 of the staff report, right after it talks about the parking lot setback, section 607, G1B 863 D2, Exhibit A. And it says that the applicant indicated that the 4 foot tall screening walls serve as a compensating design feature for the request. I was just curious because this 4 foot wall, screening wall, was what I recall being on lot 4. Are we talking about a different wall? Like, what are we talking? And then lot 4, I remember the screen wall being on where the pads were. The pads aren't there anymore. So is this a different wall that we're talking about?
So the wall continues. So there is a section of wall along the future pad sites. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing my screen and you were all following along with me. Let me go back. Let's see, here we go. So now hopefully we're looking at the screen. The 4-foot screen wall, it's broken into sections, but it runs here. It runs here in front of and kind of curves around the corner of the future pad site. It's also located along this parking lot where this is where that 14.5-foot modification comes in.
Okay.
The area widens. So remember, we're 25 feet is our minimum setback. So from here, 14 feet to probably about this distance, all of this area is kind of the modification area.
Okay. So they're referring to the wall for that specific section, or are they referring to a wall that goes all the way past the pad sites?
I think that because of where the modification is being requested, it's, yeah, they're saying in this area where we're seeking relief, this is the screen wall that's blocking it. And then they have the additional seating wall and around the patio.
All right, thank you. That's it for me.
Natasha, any questions?
No, that was super helpful. Thanks.
Elaine, any questions?
No, thanks.
All right, so then let's do the final site plan for lot 6.
Lot 6, the only thing that changed in that staff report from your previous meeting was clarification on those lot size shifts at the very beginning of the report in the land use section. Everything else there is consistent with what you had in front of you last month that was continued.
All right. Dorothy, any questions?
I don't believe so. Just made sure the calculations all worked out, looked great. Thank you again. That was it. Thanks.
Natasha, any questions?
No, thank you.
All right. Elaine?
No, thank you.
All right. So that brings us to the Frederick Health Master Plan.
So we Gabrielle took a look at the staff report and realized that
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Oh, can you see me?
We can see you now. Yes.
Can you hear me?
A little better. Yep.
Okay. I'll try to sit a little closer to the laptop. So the modifications that they had previously asked for, and during the workshop it was discussed about having those removed. Those actually do need to be approved with the master plan. So I added that information back into the staff report. For the second hearing, I'm going to give a little bit more elaboration on those modifications and, their compliance with, or, compatibility with the comp plan and everything. So, but I wanted to let you know that they do need to be approved with the master plan. So that's the one modification allowing lots to front on open space, and then the other one was for the street details.
Just a little bit of background. When we're looking at the master plan and thinking about the process as being kind of iterative and starting with this plan that looks at overall land use and densities and major road connections, it's also intended to be establishing kind of the vision for the development, establishing what those road sections look like, what the lot types look like. Are they townhouse lots with small front yards? Are they, alley loaded? Are they front loaded, having their garages in the front or the rear? So the master plan is kind of to set this overall theme or vision for the project. Things like the street designs and the lot details are really integral to that. Not that we don't consider modifications at separate stages of the plan. We may have a master plan approved, the developer goes in, is refining down to the next level of development, looking at their preliminary plat, and they're starting to work with a home builder, and they realize, oh, this lot detail needs to shift a little bit because the products that are now available or desirable have a slightly smaller front setback or a, larger garage or larger bedroom on the first floor, whatever it might be. So they start to tweak those details. But the goal is that we should be kind of envisioning the community through general building design elements, and then seeing those plugged in at the next stages of the development process. And that's why it's important to have kind of the street details, the lot details, and any modifications they think they might need to those considered now. It also is keeping with the principle that development types that require master plans are inherently flexible, because in exchange for that flexibility comes a bit higher level of discretion on the part of the planning commission. So you're looking at this plan holistically with all of its components, and you're given a little bit more authority to consider the flexibility. So that's just a kind of the policy basis for having those types of modifications part of this. I just want to add to that conversation.
Oh, Joan, you're on mute.
Thank you. I had to make you not hear my dog. Dorothy, any questions?
Yeah, just real quickly, I was just curious. I don't understand how this is gonna work. I was looking at page 6. It talks about page 6, site specific criteria. It says, the applicant shall demonstrate to the planning commission's satisfaction that noise levels resulting from the operation of the mixed use conditional use shall not be disruptive to a mixed employment, retail, office, residential environment. How is that being assessed? I don't understand that.
Oh, sorry. I think, with them, I mean, it's still kind of, this plan is kind of still very basic, but
Right.
I think because of where they're going to have the hospital and everything in relation to the other non-residential uses, they're going to be, set further away from the residential uses in order to minimize those noises and other things that may impact those residential uses. So,
Okay, so this is about, so we're doing a master plan, and in addition to this, they're requesting conditional uses. And as part of the conditional uses, we have to consider the matrix on section 404 of the LMC, which speaks to section 310, 837, and what's the third one? Section 868, 864, 828. The Helistop. Is that something that would require FAA approval or anything? Do we have any? And would that be part of documentation for the master plan, or do we wait for the site plan? I'm just trying to understand.
I think, Gabrielle, correct me if I'm wrong, but I would think that they would need to demonstrate it, or I don't know, they wouldn't necessarily have to have the approval now from the FAA, but that would be something that they would certainly need for the site plan, if indeed that is the case where they do need FAA approval for that. So I can find out for you. I can contact or either the our airport manager, he may know, or somebody else from MAA or FAA to see if they do need approvals for that.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
the conditional use criteria in section, so we reference those, 828 is specific to heliports and helistops. And it does require at the site plan stage that the applicant provides guarantees, as the planning commission deems necessary, that the heliport or helistop meets all the Federal Aviation Administration requirements that require approvals and licenses and have been obtained in conformance with the approved site plan. So the code is asking the planning commission to consider these mixed use conditional uses conceptually at the master plan stage for how it ties in and conforms to the overall vibe that this project's starting to create, right? The mix of land uses and all of these things. But then for the heliports and helistops, in addition to the I'm sorry, the other mixed use conditional uses we have listed there in the staff report. There are then design specifics required that are demonstrated at the final site plan stage.
Okay.
And so kind of creating yes, we approve the option of the mixed use conditional use as part of this overall mixed use development as implemented through these various development stages.
Okay. So Gabrielle, here's where I'm lost, and I'm not going to keep everyone up because we're probably going to have this discussion later, but here's where I'm lost. I mean, on Monday night, this is talking about the criteria for conditional uses for, I'm assuming, the master plan, right? And correct? Is that correct?
They are conditional uses the applicant's asking to be incorporated in the overall master plan development.
Correct.
And the criteria for them. Mm-hmm.
Correct. And I guess for me, I'm like, this is a master plan. So it's kind of hard I feel like I'm looking at page 5, number 2, the number of people residing, working, and studying in the immediate area in order to prevent overcrowding and overconcentration. The effect of such use upon the peaceful enjoyment of people in their homes. All this stuff, conditioned of non-hinder the convenience of walking from place to place. I mean, like, how are you, until preservation of cultural and historic landmarks? I mean, how are you really determining these conditional uses if it's at the master plan level and we don't have the details that we would have at a site plan level to make that determination? Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of like where in my head I'm like, how are you going to convince us that that this plan is going to be able to do that for you to get a master plan to then give us further detail on a final site? That's where I am in my head.
Yeah, I know. I totally understand where you're going. So sort of like some of the design criteria we have when we look at mixed use development, and we don't have elevations yet. And we have to know that the mixed use, like Brickworks, has to comply with these design standards. You're not getting all of the answers to those questions up front because it is kind of this iterative process as you hone in on the level of design that applies. So at the master plan, yes, it's very generalized. The Planning Commission can give approval that these uses will blend in with the community appropriately. And the proof is in the pudding as you go through these final site plan processes and implement them. The other important part about being a mixed use conditional use is that after this development is all said and done, after we go through master plan, preliminary plat, site plans, and this is all constructed, the importance of something being considered a mixed use conditional use versus a by right use means that the Planning Commission, when you do get to the site plan use level, could attach conditions. And you could say, you know what, we approved this helistop, but only, if you don't fly your helicopters at 9 o'clock at night. I'm just making something up, but you could approve a condition on it. And then that condition lives forever, right? Like that is a condition of its eternal being. As long as that thing is there, and if it goes from one property owner to another, it's allowing the Planning Commission the authority to attach conditions to it. When you look at the site plan and you go, okay, now I see this thing come in and I'm worried that this, nursing home might be too close to this single family house and it's too tall and it's, and you look at compatibility, you have more leverage to attach conditions to its construction or its design to protect other uses around it. And then those have to live forever. So if it's all of the aspects of the approval are not being granted at this time because you will go through those site plans.
Okay. Yeah, I have more questions, but I'll keep them for Monday night. But thank you. This is helpful. This conversation is helpful, but I have more questions. But thank you.
Okay, Natasha, any questions?
No, but this is very helpful.
Elaine, any questions?
No questions, but I agree. It's helpful to understand, the different levels of it. We're looking at a master plan versus, sky level versus ground level To understand
And-
that a condition would live forever is helpful to know. Thank you.
And this is the first hearing, so we don't have to understand all of it Monday night, right?
And any questions, you know, I think that, yeah, it's nice to have the 2 hearings to ask any questions and get there.
So I did have one question, sort of a global question, and this, would this also this, the part about you have to build, you know, the 75% of commercial versus residential, will that apply in this instance? To this master plan? Just because it seems like so much of the commercial is tied up with the hospital and, you know, aspects that we know aren't going to be happening for a while. So how will that affect the residential component?
They have to provide, you know, the minimums and the maximums and what they're proposing. So they have to stay within those parameters. And again, once they go through, you know, the preliminary plat and site plan stages and everything, they have to demonstrate that they're still within those thresholds. So I think for both, it's what, a minimum of 15 and a maximum of 85%. So
Now,
they
that-
have to
no,
find that.
I'm
Joan's talking about the
about
phasing.
the
Oh, the
phasing.
phasing. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That-
Okay.
You know, like
That would apply.
Yeah.
75%, only 75% of the residences can be built until 25.
Okay.
So is that feasible? I mean, is that something we have to think about given what the structure of their commercial is?
Right now, the way the code's written, that they don't have much of an
choice.
option. Yeah.
Okay.
But that would apply.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Mhm.
All right, so
Yeah,
now
yeah,
we're
this is Jurian. Yeah, again, with apologies because we never finalized the traffic study and the conditions that we will see, but and I do not have a provisional certificate ready yet at this point, but we anticipate finalizing that. But I know there are significant concerns from the neighborhood. I didn't want to take this opportunity and not update you or hear something Monday without having a little bit of a background on it, not being prepared fully. So the study is fairly comprehensive that they submitted. We took some time to review it, so it's still being finalized. There's a whole set of, it's a fairly large study looking all the way to Opposing Town Pike and Christopher's Crossing on the west side. To the east, it goes across 26. But as you know, I've come across with the several other ones. There are some of the challenging intersections like 26 in Monocacy, 26 in Warman's Mill Road. There are still impacts to it, which you will see a request for a finding of adequacy, because based on the fact that these are already 2 big intersections and the constraints are there for further improvements. Having said that, the other conditions likely on the project will be to provide signalized intersections at Monocacy and Waterside, where they're proposing one entrance. The other is Monocacy and Frederick Health Way, Quincy Way, which is currently a 4-way stop control intersection, will require a signal. We are in discussion with them about limiting access to their easternmost point, which is generally across from South Everly Drive. They do have an access. We're going to probably limit it to a right in, right out. There is also a comprehensive plan road that goes through the property and connects to Warman's Mill Road. That particular road, which was in the comprehensive plan, connects Warman's Mill Road to Maryland 26. So the applicant is required to construct that and connect to Warman's Mill Road. And as you may know, Warman's Mill Road itself connects to Monocacy. So there's a network that will eventually get built and help support the amount of traffic the site will generate. That's pretty much where the conditions are. We are looking at some other mitigation options that will be part of the package that'll be rolled into the provisional certificate that you'll see for this one. That's pretty much the extent of the comments that I have at this point as far as the traffic study and the traffic concerns that you may hear on Monday if someone were to come in. I don't know if you lost Joanne. So that's, unless you have any other questions, I think we're also working with MTA on this connection to Warman's Mill Road, because that will involve crossing the railroad tracks there.
Okay. Anything else? Joan has asked me to take over because her Wi-Fi, I don't know, went out. I got a little lost. So Cherian, when you're responding to somebody's question, it was her question, correct?
No, I didn't want it to have you walk in Monday and not have any update on where the traffic analysis is sitting, or give you a background on it, because I just wanted to make sure that if there are people commenting on traffic concerns and you're not prepared without any background.
That's
So I
helpful
was
if
just
we got
giving you
that
a
public comment.
rundown, yeah, where we are with it.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? No. And
No.
and go ahead, Natasha.
No, I said no.
Oh, okay. So Cherian, and I apologize, Cherian, because I was looking at Joan's text message, so I kind of spaced out for a second, so I just want to confirm in regards to the traffic study. You mentioned the public comment, which I did read, and what you're saying is a traffic study was done, or what did you say? I apologize.
Correct. The applicant did submit a traffic study.
Okay.
So typically when they submit, it's a draft form until it's finalized with our comments back. So it's been a while. We've been discussing different aspects of it. So it hasn't been finalized yet. Once it's final, which I hope we'll get it done in the next couple of weeks, the final version should be able to be shared with the public or shared with the Plan Commission members.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. Now we move on to the Wednesday night, May 21st. Is Joan back? Nope, hearing meeting. And we've moved on to the new business. Am I doing this right, Gabrielle? We're moving on to the new business.
Yeah.
And we're going to PC 24-1000 FSI final site plan for Taco Bell.
So this site plan is the reconstruction of the Taco Bell that is currently out on East Patrick Street, across kind of from the airport off of Storage Way, which is a private drive. This final site plan has 3 modifications you'll be voting on in addition to the site plan itself. One is to allow for more parking than otherwise allowed by the maximum. They have 15 spaces is the most they can provide, and 21 is what they are providing based on kind of the redesign, the existing parking, and reducing that slightly. They have parking area lighting modification. As you'll recall, this plan goes across 2 lots, basically. The building's all in 1 lot, but the drive-throughs and parking area span the 2 lots. So there is light spillover for areas that are in joint use. Related to that common use of the area, there's also the modification for the level 1 screening between the 2 lots, and then a modification to reduce the amount of interior parking lot landscaping, which is typically what you see in your parking lot islands, below the 10%. So you have those areas that you need to be focused on. And
are you showing us something, Gabrielle?
I wasn't. I was looking at my screen, scrolling around. Sorry, just making sure I hit on everything. If there's anything particular on the screen I can point out to you, I'm happy to do that. But
okay.
That is all I wanted to touch on.
Thank you. Elaine, do you have any questions or comments? this
Not
one?
at this time. I just briefly looked at everything this morning. I unfortunately didn't pick up that packet before I left to come to New Jersey, but I'm going to pick that up and I can certainly do more of a review prior to the hearing.
Okay. Valencia, Natasha?
I'm good, thank you.
All right. And I am good too. Thank you. So next up is PC 24-937 FSI Final Site Plan 27 Corporate Park.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. Well, since we talked the last time, since the workshop, the applicant cleaned up their lighting plan a bit. I think you'll notice that. Of course, this is let's do the site plan first, right? The FSI. Nothing really has changed. We're looking at the same modification, which is related to the screening elements. That's where they're faced with the providing a level 3 screen between their property and the Board of Education's property, which is an institutional zone. And the place they would have this level 3 screening, which is pretty heavy duty, it includes a lot of requirements for trees, shrubs, and a stockade wall. The trees, anything with serious root systems can't be planted there because of the sewer easement. It's a big sewer easement that runs along and parallel the property line. And this particular applicant is going to plant all the vegetation that's required, but they're going to put beside the wall, they're going to put shrubs. They're going to keep the shrubs there because they think those root systems are not going to be too intrusive. But they're going to put all the trees that are required, and every tree that's required will be planted. They'll be planted on site, but they're going to put them along the rear property line. And they can do it. It'll be nice, but they can't have to sort of stay out of the top corner of the lot because that's where a storm drain. It's like a swale. It's not a huge industrial looking stormwater system thing back there, but it's been on site and they have to deal with that and work around it. So you're not allowed to plant trees on there. And just so the planning commissioners know that section of code that really sort of prohibits them from planting anywhere near an utility easement or line is section 22-10.2. And it's just to put in your back pocket. You don't have to ever memorize it or recite it at a meeting, but if you ever just want to take a look at that, it's where we're literally required not to plant anything along those easements, utility easements or lines. One of the things that's interesting, and I did explain that, touched on it in a paragraph in the staff report, is that this particular property has county sewer, it has city water, county sewer, and of course city roads, right? So we had the applicant and our city staff had to coordinate with the county to make sure that they reviewed it and that they were good with it before the city could issue a provisional, or in this case any kind of cert. The county did have technical comments, but the staff person who reviewed it is not familiar with our ways, so to speak, and so he wasn't going to approve it until a lot of little nitpicky labeling. I'm serious, little labels for some of the sewer lines and things on the street. He wanted certain contract numbers associated with them. So we did coordinate with him to find out whether these could be done as a conditional part. In other words, they won't get the city won't issue a full sewer certification until all of those conditions are addressed, but it won't hold. We did determine, and the county agreed, it would not hold up. Once they understood what we were trying to get from them, they could approve, of course, the sewer access, the sewer capacity, sewer lines right in front of the property. There's plenty of sewer capacity, but they won't get a full city approval until all those conditions have been met. And we do refer to those in the conditions of approval. You'll see, which one is it? Oh, it's note number 2, recommendation, the condition number 2, address the outstanding comments from the county's Division of Water and Sewer Utilities. And that's what that refers to. But otherwise, this application, I was a little upset that they were so light on the justification criteria for 721. But frankly, I had to back way off and remind myself this is just over a 1 acre site. And this is I noticed they're using a forester landscape architect who's not familiar again with how much detail we'd like him to put into that 721 letter. And to them, I'm sure it seemed like, are you kidding me? This is just a 1.07 acre site. There's no forest on it. Never hasn't been forest on it in any of our aerials, going back to as far as we've got aerials for that property. So, I just had to take with a grain of salt, and I hope you understand it. They did a fairly good job. And we do think it's a justifiable request to modify you'll see it when we get to the forest stand delineation to accept their 721 arguments, even though it's a light. I think that's about it. They have a justifiable request for approval, and staff does support it. If you have any questions, before we move to the forest conservation plan, now's the time.
Thank you, Sharon. Elaine, do you have any questions?
No, I don't at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Natasha?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Sharon. I guess we'll move on to the next one, which is the PC 24-938 FSCB Combined Forest Stand Delineation and Preliminary Forest Conservation Plan for 27 Corporate Park.
Okay, this is the companion forest stand delineation and forest conservation plan, preliminary forest conservation plan combined. Since we last spoke, since this was a workshop, this particular applicant was required to do a phase 1 investigation after it did its archaeological study. We've never figured out exactly why, but the applicant did do it. And the result was done by Chris Goodwin and Associates. When it came back in, it did not recommend any, it found nothing and recommended no further action. Our consultant reviewed it, reviewed the study, reviewed all the photographs and diggings that they did. They did several, almost I think 24 of them in the small area that was at question. And our consultant agreed no further action was necessary, and so they completed their archaeological requirement. Now we get to they have a fee in lieu request justification because of the trees they're planting, which includes some street trees. They have a little bit of credit. I'm not sure they took it, but they have a 0.16 acre of planning requirement, which works out to be just under 7,000 square feet. And the total fee in lieu they will pay is $2,091. One of the conditions in this is that they correct their calculation. They have they rounded down or they rounded up, one of the two, and I want them to correct that. There you see in the staff report, they left a blank under street trees with mature canopy. They could have answered that question, in my opinion, but they did not. I still feel after that would have gotten them some credits. They didn't take them. They do have I think 3 or 4 street trees. But other than that, they did answer the criteria, they addressed the criteria, and staff does support the fee in lieu request. Again, the total fee in lieu is the only condition of the recommendation. Any questions?
All right. Any questions, Elaine or Natasha?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sharon. I have no questions.
Okay.
So we're going to move on to the extra space storage. So we're going to do PC 24-1003 FSI. We're going to do that first. So go ahead, Sharon, take it away.
All righty. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to pull that up. Get ready for us here. Okay, here we go. All right. Let's see. This particular workshop raised a couple of questions that were addressed. And aside from these two things, it's pretty much the same as was discussed during workshop. One had to do, and I think it was Joan that asked the question about height. And the applicant has clarified that it is a 60-foot high building. And in the general commercial zone, you could go up to 90 feet. But anything over 60 feet would have to be stepped back 1 foot all around for each building height over 60. So, of course, this is a small lot. We were a little bit flustered when we saw the elevation that the applicant had included because there's a parapet wall. But I can assure you that after doing a little research, parapets are one of those items in Table 405-2 of the Land Management Code that are not included in building height limitations. In other words, parapet walls are listed as one of the several allowable height encroachments. Like we know that HVAC systems are allowed on roofs and are not included in building heights. Well, in the same vein, parapet walls and firewalls are not included in encroachment, height encroachment. They're not included in the calculation of height. They are allowed encroachments. So you can ask the applicant a little bit more to explain that, but essentially that's why the building at 60 is fine, even though there is a parapet wall that does extend higher than 60. Now, the second item was that we had them address, and they did provide a revised plan for, is their lighting plan. We were concerned about spillage. There was still some spillage. I mean, it's true. It's back in that part of the Golden Mile that is narrow and that allows basically panhandle lots to take advantage. It's basically 2 rows of commercial for a part of the Golden Mile south of 40. And the panhandles were okay because it limited access to Route 40 while still allowing access to multiple lots on both rows of commercial activity. So we understand that, but and we know that nested back in there, it's very possible that no one would ever notice that spillage, but we still don't want it. So they did go back to the drawing board, so to speak. They got their lighting consultant to take a look at what they could do. And the revised lighting plan does show that all spillage there is no spillage offsite, and that light is contained within the property lines. Other than that, there's nothing, I don't believe, that was not discussed at workshop. So if there's any questions, now's the time.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. Elaine or Natasha?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay, so Sharon, I have a question. I just
Okay.
want to confirm because these last 2 items I have not had a chance to look at yet. So I just want to confirm what I heard you say.
Okay.
Did you say that the wall had the ability or could be taller than the building itself?
Yes, parapet walls may extend above the height limit. They're not included in the height limitation.
What does that look like? How would that look aesthetically?
Well, you'll see it's basically a facade, a wall, a part of the building that is attached. A lot of the older buildings actually in downtown have parapets. And those you'll see the flat roofs, they're flat, and then all of a sudden, if you look behind them, you'll see that there's a single brick wall or sticking up. Often it was used for signage in downtown. I don't know what they're going to use it for. 2012, but a good example I know is right around the corner from me, and it's the new little distillery by the post office. You can literally see the parapet wall. You can be walking from East Patrick along Carroll, Chapel Alley, and look up and see the parapet. It sticks up above, and when you take a look all along Market Street and a lot of Patrick Street downtown on either side of the square corner, you'll see buildings with parapet walls. So according to our 405-2, there's a little section, 1 sentence above the table. So it's table 405-2, and right above it is the sentence that says, I'm going to paraphrase it, that the items in the following table are not to be included in height limitations. And then the table itself says these are allowable encroachments to height. And it lists a whole lot of little things that are allowed. And in this particular one, there's a double column that says that lets the writers checked either whether the encroachment was allowed in all districts or just in some. Parapets are allowed to extend past to encroach in the height in all districts. So that's there it is. You see the little thing that sticks up? That is the parapet.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Thank you,
Okay.
Gabrielle.
I probably never paid attention to that before.
You,
Okay.
it's like buying a car that you really didn't think you'd ever seen a car like that before, or that not very many people have them. And then you start driving it and you notice them all the time. I did that with one Mitsubishi I had. I never really had a Mitsubishi. This was years ago. As soon as I got in that little car, I saw Mitsubishis everywhere. So now you know what a parapet wall is, and you'll see it now everywhere you look in Frederick. You'll see it. I see Elaine's nodding. She's seeing what I'm talking about. So you'll notice it now.
Yeah.
And,
in living downtown, I had it where I guess they had the wall there. They extended the building and they wanted to knock the wall down and couldn't. So my window back to the wall. Didn't open to anything. It was a window with a brick wall behind it. At 7 East Patrick. You can still see it if you go there or go up in the parking garage room.
I'll look. So that's the genesis of the building height encroachments, and that's a good thing also as planning commissioners to be aware of, because there are a lot of these little things that will pop up, and you'll know where the resource is that gives that allowance.
This was really helpful. Sharon, your explanation, and Gabrielle, you providing that visual was helpful as well. Thank you. Any other questions? I see Joan is back. So Joan, are you going to take it away? We're on the last item.
Oh, wow.
Do you have any
finished with the last
questions?
item, or are you starting the last item?
Starting, do you have any questions for the final site plan for the extra space storage?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Did you hear the height discussion?
I heard part of it.
Okay, because you brought the question up at workshop, so I wanted to make sure you heard. Yeah, you asked about what about the height? The building height, because you had a hard time.
Okay.
So basically, we did determine that the height is 60 feet, and that there is a parapet wall which does extend beyond that height, and that's an allowable encroachment.
Gotcha. Okay, I heard
Okay.
that part.
Okay, good.
Cool. Thank you. All right. Well, then let's do 27 Corporate Park.
Hey,
Oh,
let me get.
We already got that one. I think we were just
Yes.
wrapping up the final forest for extra space storage.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Or
Gotcha.
the combined forest, I'm sorry.
The final one.
Gotcha. Okay.
Number E.
Right. Let me just get my little thing up. In this one, of course, they're requesting a fee in lieu. They do have a decent response to 721 criteria. They, to the extent they can provide anything, they are. But as you know from looking at that site, this is a very small site as well, and almost everything they're redeveloping. The majority of it will be torn up again. Of course, they've got their archaeological stuff done. They've done all of that. So they do have. They don't have a front. The only, I guess, interesting element that to be aware of is that they don't have street trees. Right? Street trees could be a credit, but they don't have street trees, and they don't have a requirement for them. And the reason is they're in one of those panhandle lots. They don't have street frontage. So we could not require them to have street trees. That said, they are providing some trees. I guess you could call them supplemental. There are trees there. They're planting additional trees everywhere they can. They do have some conflicts with utility lines underground. And as we just discussed, they're not allowed to get near those, that not within 10 feet of an easement, a utility easement or line. So they do have a couple of conditions, minor. One is very minor. It's I just want them to add. They have to add the roadway category. They have it on their site plan. They did not carry it over to the forest plan, which is to put urban primary arterial for West Patrick Street. And then they need to revise their fee in lieu. They had a slight error in that. We're just talking pennies, but you know, if they're going to say it, let's say it correctly. So those are they haven't really changed. Other than that, they did provide we already talked about the lighting, the revised lighting plan that was on the site plan. So other than these two conditions, and a good 721 justification letter, I have nothing, you know, really new to talk about.
Okay. So let's do questions. Dorothy?
Nope.
Natasha?
No, thank you.
Elaine?
No, thanks.
Great. Was that the last item on the agenda?
Yep.
All right. Well, I just had one. I just wanted to give Elaine and Natasha the chance to ask. So with Ron gone, he was our powerhouse for making motions. And I just wanted to make sure, you guys are going to, whether you feel ready or not, going to be thrown into the lion's den a little bit more now. So I just wanted to make sure, did you have any questions
I can do that.
about making motions, or, is there anything you don't understand? Anything you want to ask about while we're sitting here and nobody else is really listening?
Yeah. So just to verify, so my understanding is I can make a motion to approve or a motion to reject, or do I? Okay.
Yes.
Or approval with conditions. Is that right?
Well, there's times that we could add specific conditions.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So I could, all right. Okay.
Well, we've, in most of the, motion to approve, as recommended with these findings, and to the extent, we try to provide our findings, as kind of food for thought. If you have additional findings, it's also a good opportunity. I think, there's a lot to think about when making a motion, but to the extent that you go, I also find that, the applicant did a really great job explaining the relationship with the comprehensive plan. And I think that extra spruce tree is a great addition to the plan. So if there are any findings outside of the ones that we offer for you, I please definitely add that. It strengthens our cases, to have as much kind of backup why we think this complies with all of the requirements. And then in a lot of cases, most cases, we have conditions of approval that we've recommended. And a lot of them are technical in nature, where they're cleaning up things on the plan or procedural things. But if there are conditions that have come out of the conversation, if the commission asks the applicant about the landscaping and there's dialogue, and maybe you want to swap out the spruces for a Leland cypress or something of that nature, then you would add in any additional conditions or modify conditions we've recommended as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And then, the only thing to add is that the last training that Scott did do with us, the more that we can, use what the staff provided as findings as the basis for ours, but use our own language and add to it, the stronger the decision will be. So, I know in the heat of the moment, it's really easy just to sit down and read what's in the staff report. But, and as you're getting your feet wet, making motions, that's perfectly fine. But just keep in mind that it's, not necessarily, it's our findings, not necessarily the staff's findings.
Yeah.
Right.
And it doesn't need to be, I make a motion to approve this final site plan finding, that it complies with these criteria. And this is why, I looked at the access point and I thought that balances. It doesn't have to be, speak in your own language, I guess is the point. Like, I think we get kind of wrapped up in the semantics of all of this, very procedural stuff, and it sounds so formal. But the findings, if things were to be appealed and a judge were to get a transcript of the case, he's going to get all the words you said verbatim. So it's going to make sense. It's going to be part of a context of a big conversation. He's going to, or she, or they, are going to have that full context. So don't get too wrapped up. in how it comes out, right? I think speak in your own words, in your own, you know, perspective on the plan. And that is A-okay. That is perfect.
I think what was really helpful for me was the one time that you both weren't there for the workshop. So I had that paper printout and it had the wording right in front of me. So I just was able to read off of that. So maybe if we just had that, just suggestion, like maybe just had that up there each meeting, just in case someone doesn't show up, we all have it in front of us. And then maybe just add like the line to it that says how to do the motions. Cause I just wrote a note really quick at the top of my paper where it was just like, I move for ... and finding that ... like just having that in front of you as a reference, I think just makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. When I
So
first
maybe we could just
started-
have that.
Yeah, when I first started, when I got to the end of each staff report, I would actually just make notes to myself at the bottom of the staff report and write out in, you know, my own words and my own handwriting, you know, and I didn't necessarily always wasn't the one to make the motion, but I had that in front of me so that it was.
So you were ready
Yeah.
if you had to.
So I was ready. So I didn't stumble.
I think
yeah.
that's so helpful. I think we kind of are all operating that way then. So
Yeah.
maybe just having that, just like those starters, like this is like, I just know if I can reference it really quick, then I'm just like, okay, I got it from here. Just,
Yeah.
I move forward and
Mhm.
finding that, like, you know, and I think I had made that little note where it's like, where you go to the staff report, it's like finding that. And it was like parentheses staff report, like, you know, so then kind of put it in your own words. I just think that guide would like, just be good if we just kept it in front of us. And even just like your opening too, because that way it's just always there in case someone doesn't show up. We just are prepared and not scrambling.
We do, I think we put, and I'll double check for kind of our motion guide too. We do have a folder that sits back by Jen, I think with our sign-in sheets, and I'm pretty sure we put a script in there for that kind of opening and stuff if we ever need it. We'll double
Okay.
check on Monday, but just if
That was
you
so
know,
helpful when she
yeah,
gave
the
me that.
emergency lifesaver. There's a
Yeah.
there's a folder, an accordion style folder on the bookshelf by Jen. So as long as one of us are there, we will have that on hand for you too.
And then the other
One of
thing
us will always be there.
is just to remember that you can't really make a mistake. If you leave something out, then, you know, perhaps the person who seconds will say, you know, and add this phrase, and, you know, and if the person who seconds doesn't catch something, then I might say, is it okay to add this phrase? And if none of us catch it, Gabrielle might say, well, did you want to add this phrase? And so.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool.
Yeah, I think,
Good.
and not to belabor the point, but I think, you know, it's not it's the context of the whole. When we've seen appeals happen, it really is. It's not like a magic, you know, haha, you didn't say these words. You know, like it doesn't have to be in a perfect combination. It doesn't have to be eloquent. It doesn't have to be, you know, scripted out. So yeah, the more you deliberate as a group and do that, I second that. I want to add this, that's like beautiful, good collaboration.
I would suggest though, after that, whenever you do clearly somebody sum up what you've just all agreed. Okay, so there is a true meeting of the minds. When you do have a vote, you at least all agree that this is what we're saying, this is what we're voting on.
Yeah.
So you may take 5 or 10 minutes or more to work it out.
Yeah.
But somebody restate, okay, this is what I think we're just all saying, and get agreement on that before the vote. And Joan, you know what I'm talking about, just so that when anybody listens to it, there's no confusing the discussion.
Which part did they approve? Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Well, thank you for indulging me in this conversation. Does anybody else have anything they want to add?
No. No,
All right.
thanks.
I appreciate
No,
you
this
guys.
was just helpful.
Yeah, appreciate y'all putting up with me during my Wi-Fi outage, and thank you, Dorothy, for picking up the ball so fast, and we'll see everybody on Monday.
All right. Bye.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
have a
Bye.
good weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.